Hi, and thanks for taking the time out of your day to join me in this discussion about VDI in a rapidly changing landscape. Let's face it, over the course of the last 6 months, the entire VDI ecosystem, heck, all of end user computing, has changed fairly radically. Between Horizon being spun out of VMware, sold off to private equity, Citrix going also private equity and going all cloud as fast as they can, boy, there's been some real changes that are just creating a massive need in the end user computing space for trustworthy, stable, on-premises based alternatives. Now, over the last 4 years, we collectively have learned an awful lot about end user computing. We figured out very quickly that legacy VDI approaches, like you saw with Horizon, like you saw with Citrix, they're way too complex, way too expensive, and quite frankly, in today's world, they're no longer stable. They're changing way too fast, and not in ways that are always good. Those same legacy VDI approaches, well, the way they'd been implemented up to just a couple of years ago, struggled to handle the pace of change that we see in the modern world. A lot of the vendors tried to cry for a cloud-first approach, lift and shift your end user computing to AWS or Azure. But guess what? Companies are discovering very quickly that cloud-first approaches, especially with end user computing, aren't always a very good idea. As a matter of fact, the legacy of lock-in that cloud brings to the table is starting to come back and bite them pretty badly. What people need to have is flexible, thoroughly tested, end-to-end, scalable end-user computing VDI infrastructures that don't lock them in. Hyperconverged infrastructure is the natural fit, and nobody does that as well, as easily, or as seamlessly as scale computing does. Now, cyber threats, man, they've grown explosively. Traditional desktop infrastructures, they didn't handle it real well. But modern VDI, the way we've implemented it with our partners, can absolutely help fix this. Now, let's talk about what's going on with Horizon. KKR. Yeah, that KKR. The one that the movie Barbarians at the Gate was written about. They're the winners. They bought Horizon from Broadcom. Let that soak all the way in. Folks are already starting to see the changes happening there. We all know what Broadcom's all about. You guys don't need me to do a deep dive into what Broadcom has historically done to companies. And I anticipate seeing the exact same thing happening with the folks over at Horizon, and more importantly, their customers. Broadcom only wants the largest of the large that they can keep locked in forever. KKR brings the same mentality to the table. This has worked to massively create a sense of distrust between Horizon customers and the infrastructure they'd grown to depend on. Citrix, or as it's now known, the Cloud Solutions Group. Interestingly enough, a bit less than a year ago, Tibco, another P&E firm, bought Citrix, took them private, and started moving them away from on-premises implementation. As a matter of fact, if you go take a look at pretty much all of their marketing, it's all cloud-based. The disruption they're bringing to the channel, well, it ought to look awfully familiar to any of you that have been dealing with VMware historically. The elimination of entire categories of options, invitation-only platform licenses, the doubling or more of costs without warning, while simultaneously discontinuing multiple integrations with multiple vendors. As an interesting side note, the CEO of Cloud Solutions Group, Citrix, he's the former CFO of Broadcom that put that acquisition in motion. And he's 100% following the same playbook that Broadcom is with VMware. Now, as if things weren't complex enough in those legacy approaches of Horizon and Citrix, now they want to layer in that cloud-first mentality, as if both of those products weren't already complex enough. For a whole slew of reasons, Azure Virtual Desktop, Amazon Workspaces, Citrix Cloud, etc., they're just not a good choice for an awful lot of customers. Imagine being a cruise line, okay, that's running VDI shipboard, as some of our customers are, and being told, no, you need to maintain cloud connectivity to do anything. Other customers that are running that end user compute in places that don't always have great cloud connectivity. We see that all over the place. Well, that's just not an option for them, is it? Not to mention that they aren't bringing costs down. They're cranking them. So what does that mean? What it means is simply this. We've heard the market scream for a better alternative. Scale Computing has partnered with both Leostream and Parallels to bring you choice and some best of breed capabilities to replace Horizon-based and Citrix-based infrastructures that don't support just one or two protocols like those guys do. But, for example, Leostream, 17 protocols supported currently. Have all of the table stakes integrations that you would expect, Parallels and Leostream both, with Scale as an infrastructure, lifecycle management, golden image management, cloning, creating, deleting, the whole bit. But done at a price point and at an implementation difficulty level that makes sense for the real world. They make it easy, they make it fast, they cut your Citrix or Horizon costs radically. Now notice I have another logo on here, Tenzig. I talked about end-to-end solutions, from the connection broker to the infrastructure, all the way down to the end client piece, the thin client, the thick client. Tenzig has joined our partnership here as the ultimate supplier, pre-configured, pre-supported by both Scale's partners, specifically to handle all the way down to the endpoint, to bring you a complete end-to-end pre-built solution that works together. Done at price points nobody else can get anywhere near, and functional levels that you've come to expect from on-premise based end-user computing. You see, the goal here is about making VDI and end-user computing easy to consume, but without being locked into the cloud, without being locked into legacy solutions that don't bring you the partnership that they might once have. You know, on the screen here, you can see just some of the highlight bullet points that these offerings bring to the table for you, for your customers, for your partners, and done in a way that can be stood up in a day. At the end of the day, what this is really all about is successful deployments that make end customers happy. For example, the best quote I probably have ever heard about an end user computing implementation is out of one of our VDI-based customers. City of Harlingen Waterworks out of Texas, where John said, and I quote, "It just works." In a conversation I was having with John, his first person that he put into trying this solution out with was the one person he knew would be the most likely to complain about anything. They had no complaints whatsoever. It just works. Full stop. Cut their legacy costs versus a previous Citrix implementation radically. Cherokee Indian Hospital recently implemented with Scale and Parallels. Couldn't be happier if they tried. See, that's the thing. You don't have to take my word for this. Talk to Scale's customers. We're more than happy to talk through exactly what their experience has been. And on that note, I want to say thank you for taking the time to join me, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the near future.